The BMW PGA Championship is one of the DP World Tour's strongest fields of the year, and that's certainly the case this week with the likes of Rory McIlroy and Matthew Fitzpatrick. But it's the LIV players who showed up at Wentworth that promised to make this an eventful week both on and off the golf course.
You know, it's tough. Been asked this and been trying to think about it now for the last week when I realized there was going to be a lot of them here, a lot of the players. And then I've also tried to take in a lot of the members, the regular members of this tour, and see where they stand. And there's some guys that are fine with it. There's some guys that are in the middle, and there's some guys that believe they shouldn't be here, and they're taking a really hard stance on it. For me, as much as I get along with Ian Poulter, Lee Westwood, Bernd Wiesberger, and these guys, and I know they're European Tour members and they supported the tour throughout the years, I believe that they shouldn't be here. I believe it's a slap in the face of the regular members, of the guys that are actually supporting this tour going forward. These LIV guys, when they signed the contract, they factored in what they got paid at the very beginning when they signed that contract, that they may not be able to play the DP World Tour or the PGA Tour going forward. So that's why I think some of their values or they increased their values or asked for a bigger number. And that's, and they got those numbers. So it's a slap in the face to realize that some of these guys, depending on how well they play, may cost somebody a chance of winning this title and taking home a really nice prize check. And it's the biggest purse on the DP World Tour. That's a full field. I think it's like I said, it's a slap in the face to the regular membership of this tour. I can't have as hard of a stance as I would like because I've only been a member of this tour for the last 4 or 5 years, and I only play over here for 4 to 6 times a year. If this was a PGA Tour, I would be a little bit more strong in my words. But I'm taking my words are a little bit what my feelings are, but also taking in what the regular members out here feel of.
What's been your interaction this week with the LIV players?
Yeah, I've seen Bernd Wiesberger. I've seen and had a conversation with him. He's been a good buddy, and I'm happy for him. Richard Bland, he's 49 years old. I don't fault the guy for doing what he did to go to LIV. And I have a great relationship with him. And I've talked to Ian and Lee yesterday, and even when I talked to him, we were talking about this week and about the guys here, and we were having a little banter back and forth about comments I've made and comments Lee's made over the last few months. But at that point, I hadn't made a decision of where I was going to stand on it because the DP World Tour isn't as strong as the PGA Tour. And the DP World Tour is trying to be built back up with a strategic alliance, and they're trying to do it on their own as well. But at the same time, like I said, I think it's a slap in the face that these guys are here. So, but my interaction is the same. I don't fault those guys for anything, and I'm going to, want to have a conversation with them. It's funny because we can't really talk about golf because I don't care about what they do on that tour and what they do. I did say I heard that Lee had fatted a wedge shot on his last hole to lose the LIV Tour event. So I gave him a little, little elbow on that one, little ribbing on that one. But, it's changed a little bit, what we talk about. But I still have a great relationship with them, and I don't fault them. I don't fault them for making the decisions they made. I just think that they should really just not be here and stay away and enjoy counting all those millions of dollars that they got.
I didn't see the memo. I probably should see the memo. Well, I think there is a difference, especially talking to you. There's a difference between the relationship with LIV Golf and the PGA Tour and LIV Golf and European Tour, right? PGA Tour can afford to let go of some players, saying it that way, and still survive and have some really big superstars. European Tour, unfortunately, is not in that position, right? There's some big stars that have dedicated their life and they're big names in the history of the DP World Tour that are now in LIV. And I don't necessarily think you should completely ban them because they've dedicated their life to this tour and the Ryder Cup, even though the PGA Tour might have been bigger, right? They've, especially directly related to this event, they've come to the BMW Championship in Wentworth many, many years in a row. Some of them have won it. So I understand not being full support, but I don't think they should be completely banned, right? I can give a direct example. No matter what league Sergio's playing on, it makes an impact when Sergio plays in Spain. it makes an impact. There's a difference when Sergio plays and he doesn't play. And that could be the difference on somebody new picking up a golf club or not who might be a future superstar. There is a difference, right? So in my mind, letting them play might not be the worst thing. And I kind of support them playing some of those events, yeah.
And there's other players in this week's field who haven't supported the European Tour. How do you feel about those players being in the field?
That's where, I'm not a judgmental person, but I reserve some judgment in that sense. I'm not entirely happy that they're here. They've never shown any interest on the DP World Tour. I keep saying European Tour. They've never shown any interest in this event, and the only reason they're here is because they need world ranking points for hopefully qualifying for events for next year. So they're taking away a spot from somebody who's fought really hard to earn it. And unfortunately, the first one out is a really good friend of mine. And that's probably why I'm a little bit more personally invested in that sense. Somebody who's been playing really hard his whole life, who's been a DP World Tour member many times and has lost his card and fought his way back again and can't get into one of the biggest events, which could be career-changing because they decided to play. That affects me a little bit more. This is a historic venue in this tour where many great players earned a win here, and to just come because you qualified and you need the points, to me, I have a hard time dealing with it a little bit, but it is what it is. It's not my decision, I guess.
What will your interaction be like this week between yourself and the LIV players?
Well, like I said, there is a difference, but it won't change at all, right? It's not my place I'm not going to be angry at anybody or reserve any animosity towards anybody just because they were allowed to play, right? If they're allowed and they came, it's because they can, and it's as simple as that. So inevitably, some of us are going to be paired with them, hopefully in the weekend, and hopefully with a chance to win. So that we're here to play golf. At the end of the day, we're golfers, bottom line. We play this sport because we love it, and that's it. It's not going to change. Plus, there are some of them that were great friends of mine, right? I mean, Sergio and I are really close, especially after the moments we shared in that last Ryder Cup. So that's not going to change with anybody.
Now, as Jon Rahm was giving his interview today, they actually announced the tee times. And as expected, the LIV players in the field this week are sprinkled throughout the tee times. They weren't all grouped together. Now, most of the LIV players who are here this week wanted to keep a low profile and declined to talk with the media. I did have an opportunity to talk with Patrick Reed about his expectations for this week. And he said he's been coming over, playing in European events for a long time, and given his status as a Ryder Cup star for the United States, he said he's heard plenty of things from the crowd, but he says he doesn't expect that to be any different this week, and he's looking forward to everything the week's going to offer.